Alright guys, so supposedly Hawaii has the most expensive cost of living in the whole country with the exception of Washington, D.C. Today's video is going to go over the true cost of living here in paradise, here on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. So guys, a few years ago, my wife and I moved back home with our two boys to make sure that our sons go to elementary school here back home on the island. And we noticed that some of our expenses went up, like cost of basic goods, but some expenses went down. So actually our housing costs went down. We're gonna go over some of those tips and tricks and nuances here in this video. On a national scale, Hawaii is supposedly the most expensive place to live except for Washington, D.C. I brought up this image here from taxfoundation.org. It shows that in Hawaii, your dollar doesn't go as far as in other states. So $100 being the average of how far your dollar will go state by state. You'll notice states like Colorado are near 100, so they have a pretty average cost of living nationwide. And Hawaii is somewhere around 85. The cost of living here in Hawaii, according to the experts, is higher, but what does that really mean for you? Because there are a lot of advantages in the ways you can save money living here on Oahu as well. So although taxfoundation.org says that Hawaii has pretty much the highest cost of living, let's dive in and see if that's really what your experience is going to be when you live here in Hawaii. Okay guys, so through some internet research, I saw that the income levels needed in Hawaii to live comfortably for a family of 4, people are saying that you need $120,000 annual income. Now this is going to differ for a lot of people because if you're in the military, for example, which a lot of newcomers to Hawaii are military veterans, your cost of living allowance isn't taxed, your housing allowance isn't taxed, so $120,000 in the civilian world means a little different thing for you guys, right? So bear that in mind when they say you need $120,000 to live comfortably. They're saying to make it in Hawaii, you need at least $80,000 a year for a family of 4. This is going to differ for each family. It depends on what your bills are. Are your cars paid off? Some people, believe it or not, have homes that are paid off or may choose to rent a 2-bedroom with a family of 4 because they're going to enjoy the outdoors or they travel a lot. So everyone's situation is going to differ, but through basic internet research, people are saying that you need $120,000 a year for a family of 4 to live comfortably, and $80,000 a year will have you making it. The average salary here in Hawaii is $65,000 a year. If you're moving here or you're thinking about moving here, you may already have a job lined up or you have an idea of what you're going to be doing. If you're military, you already know what you're going to be making, and it's probably not $65,000 a year. Definitely if you've been in for a while, have some rank, have a family, then you already know that the cost of living allowance and the housing allowance make Hawaii one of the highest paid places. If you're in the military here, you're going to be just fine because you guys make enough. Former active duty, so I know. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, they're saying that if you make under $93,000 a year, you may qualify for low-income housing. So that gives you an idea of where the government sees that your income should be to live comfortably. Again, this is for a family of 4. At the end, we're going to give some tips and tricks on how my family of 4 lives comfortably and potentially on less than $93,000 a year. All right, so now we're going to get into some of the daily and monthly expenses that everyone's going to have here. Gas prices. I had our intern and future real estate rock star Cameron. He went right across the parking lot from our office and checked out the gas prices at Safeway. Currently, today, in December of 2020, the price of gas at Safeway for regular unleaded is $3.16. Now, a lot of places on the island might be more expensive than that. If you have a Safeway in your area, you probably know that Safeway gas prices tend to be a little less. A lot of people here on the island also fill up at Costco. Costco has lower gas prices than most places on the island as well. So I would say in my experience when I'm driving around, I see gas prices today range from the low $3 to the $3.65 would be near the airport or something. So gas average maybe around $3.30, $3.40 here on the island in December of 2020. But also remember with that, guys, you don't tend to drive as far here in Hawaii. A long commute by local standards is from Ewa Beach to town. And in the previous video, I told you guys that town means the city or Honolulu. We just say town. So from Ewa Beach to town, it's about 20 miles. Which is a road trip here. If your car gets 20 miles per gallon, it's around $3. On the mainland, when I lived in California, I would commute 40 miles, 45 miles each way. I know that some people who are from more, country areas on the mainland may also be used to commuting 40 miles each way because they live further away from work or whatnot. Along with our, on average, higher gas prices than most, make sure you remember that 10 miles is maybe the average commute here in Hawaii. Quick side note on that, my sister-in-law, when we moved back home, she wanted to make sure we didn't move too far. Well, we decided to live about 8 miles from her. It takes about 15 minutes, and she says that we live far. Okay, guys, so cost of food. We also had future real estate rock star and our intern Cameron here go across the street and check out food prices for us. There are other alternatives like Costco, commissary, and we'll get into some of those prices as well. So just know that these prices are very much on the high end. At Safeway, right now, a regular gallon of milk, are you ready? You're ready at $9. Hopefully you're lactose intolerant and you're not trying to drink too much milk because it's $9 a gallon here at Safeway. Carton of eggs ranges between $6 and $8. So the basic eggs are $6. The more expensive free range eggs are $8. If you're a health food nut, like I've been known to be, but I've been struggling with, then you probably want some farm fresh eggs. And you can get those in places like Waimanalo. Reach out to me and I'll give you tips on where to get real, just straight from the farm eggs. And actually the prices are as good or better than Safeway. Yeah. A loaf of bread, $6 to $8. Now again, I don't pay this because I don't shop there, but this is the basic neighborhood grocery store. Okay, so spinach. Guys, I try to sneak greens into my kids' meals, into our meals at all times. Spinach, for a basic bag of spinach, is around $7.
$6.99.
When I lived in California, those could be $4 or $5. So almost double for fresh produce, fresh organic produce especially. Chicken breast is about $7 a pound here at Safeway. If you're one of those chicken breast people, you like to grill your chicken breast and eat grilled broccoli and get all buff like these guys here, then you're going to be paying about $7 a pound for chicken breast. And the last example we got was ground beef. The basic ground beef is somewhere around $10 a pound. Is that true? $10? You have the picture. It's $10 a pound for ground beef?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
At the commissary, because I still have a military ID. I used to be active duty. I'm a reservist. For all you disabled vets out there, if you don't already know, with your disability card, you can probably go to the commissary now as well, to the exchange. So a gallon of milk at the commissary, where it's $9 here, it's more around $5 or $6. Carton of eggs being $6 to $8 here, it's cheaper at the commissary, $5. Loaf of bread. I buy my bread at Costco. They have this sprouted, multi-grain bread that I like for my family. It's more like $9 for a 2-pack. As for meats, I really don't know. My wife does more of the shopping. Sorry, I can't help you guys. I will say one more thing about groceries. When we lived in California, it was really easy to find pasture-raised, totally grass-fed beef, things like that. And here in Hawaii, that's a lot harder. And it can be a lot more expensive. So you do have to be creative. If those type of things are important to you, there's no way around it. If you want fresh kale right from Watsonville, California, and you want pasture-raised Petaluma beef, those things are just harder to come by here, and it is going to be more expensive. But there are plenty of people on the island that also grow bananas and mangoes. There are neighborhoods where you can just pick avocados and mangoes right off of the tree because it's hanging over the sidewalk, or make a deal with your neighbor for apple bananas. And plenty of guys go hunting. We have a pig problem here, like a pig infestation, so they encourage hunting of pig, and so there are ways to reduce those grocery bills. All right, guys, so Costco and Sam's Club is a huge one. I don't know if I know anyone, especially with a family, that doesn't have a Costco or Sam's Club membership. Usually the preference is based off of geography. There's not a Sam's Club close to me, so we go to Costco. Either one will work. You'll end up saving money for sure. I keep mentioning the commissary, and yeah, you're gonna save a lot on food there, but a lot of local people that have access to the commissary and exchange know that the exchange isn't that much cheaper on a lot of items, or it may not be cheaper at all. Now, it is a cool place to shop. There are a lot of things in one place, especially the big Navy exchange. Some things are going to be cheaper. Commissary, general rule, a lot cheaper. The exchange, it just depends on what you're buying. Electricity cost. We have the most expensive electricity in the entire country. Right now, the average cost of electricity per kilowatt hour is 29 cents. in a place like Washington or Indiana, like some of these prices are like 3 cents or 5 cents or 6, 7, 8, way cheaper than ours. I did a little research, and the average electricity bill for most people is somewhere between $150 and $200. Now, I do want to point out that that really varies depending on where you live. One of the nice things about Hawaii is we have generally good weather. Now, here in Ewa Beach, where we're at right now, and where I grew up, it's hot a lot of the time. This is the hottest part of the island. So most people are running their air conditioner year round here, especially in the newer, nicer homes. There's central air, and depending on if you have solar, or a lot of people use the Google Nest or things of that nature to bring their costs down. But if you're running air conditioning in a big 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom home all day, year round, I bet your electricity bill might be pushing $400. It'll definitely be above $300, unless you have some of those things like the Google Nest or solar to supplement the cost. Now, a lot of places in Hawaii, people don't even have air conditioners. You'd be surprised. Without running the air conditioner, or maybe if the stove is on gas, water heater is on gas, those electricity bills are going to be a lot lower. Feel free to reach out, give me a call. Let's talk about where on the island you're considering living, and then we can kind of gauge, depending on the type of home you're going to buy, your family size, and your tolerance to the weather, what your electricity bill is going to be. For my family and I, we live in Mililani, or Mililani Mauka. It's cooler. In fact, it was 61 degrees the other morning. We don't need to run the air conditioner for a solid 4 months out of the year, if not more. A lot of people wouldn't run the air conditioner at all in Mililani because it's one of the cooler parts of the island. So those are things to consider when you're looking at cost of electricity. Childcare cost. I didn't do a ton of research, but I just so happen to know because I do have a 3-year-old who is in preschool, and we do have him enrolled full-time. And for us, it's $950 a month. We love it. There are some preschools I've heard that go all the way up to $1,600 a month. I wouldn't feel comfortable paying that. Average preschool cost, I think, is between $800 and $1,200 a month for full-time. And the part-time option really depends, because some part-time options mean that you only go so many days a week, and those would be less expensive. Whereas a lot of part-time options just mean that you have a smaller window each day to drop off your child. Childcare for my family and I, for our preschool, is $950 a month, and that's at Trace Academy in White Peel. And we love it, and my son loves it too. He actually looks forward to going to school. All right, before we go over some of the tips on how to keep your costs lower, we're going to go over home prices. The November statistics just came out from the Honolulu Board of Realtors, and average home prices on the island for single-family homes are at $872,500. So I know that $872,000 sounds like a lot, and it definitely is. But just keep in mind that that home price average stems from our multi-million dollar luxury homes in Hawaii Kai, or our version of a Beverly Hills, all the way down to condos, which still may be very expensive in town. And it really depends on where you want to live. People who are coming to Hawaii to live in the suburbs, such as Ewa Beach or whatnot, the average housing price is lower than that median island-wide price of $872,000. Okay, rent. Not everyone wants to buy a home, and it's not always the right choice for everyone to buy a home. Even though I'm a real estate agent, I'll tell you sometimes it makes sense for people to rent, and I support that. I rented for years and years before buying my first home. Average rent on the island right now is $1,743, so $1,743. This is one of the things where our expenses went down, because in Hawaii, compared to California where we were, the cost of housing and the cost of rent and basically just housing costs overall are actually cheaper than more expensive parts of California. So our housing costs went down when my family and I moved back home. A lot of people who are renting in the interim because they eventually want to buy. So they'll sacrifice and rent a smaller townhome while they're saving up to buy the big home, or where they wait to get in position to buy the bigger place. So the average rent of $1,743, I think, is a little bit low, and I don't want you to expect that that's what it's going to cost for if you have a family and you want to move into a nice big house. All right, so if you're looking to have a big 3-bedroom home, 4-bedroom home, and you want to rent, the average rent for places like that are more around $3,500. It could even be higher depending on where on the island and the condition of the home and the size of the home. With the interest rates where they are today, it may very much make sense to look at owning, but it also depends on how long you're going to be here. If you're only going to be here for a year, I can tell you now, I would not encourage you to buy. If you're going to be in the Hawaii market long term, it's shown through history to hold its value really well. That's something that we can decide together. I'd love to help you decide it. One of the things about renting here in Hawaii is not a lot of places will allow dogs. You'll notice when you come here, we take our shoes off to go in the house. Very much a Japanese, Eastern influence type of culture. So with that, a lot of people don't want dogs in their house. And so landlords aren't really as dog friendly on average as I think they may be in the South or in other places. And so that's one thing to consider. If you're coming here and you're looking to rent, the availability for homes that allow dogs is going to be lower, and the cost, if they even allow it, is going to be higher. All right, guys, so as promised, I wanted to go over some of the things that my family of four, my wife and my two boys, measures that we take to keep our monthly cost of living down and still enjoy paradise. All right, so number one, there's so many outdoor activities that are free. The quality of life here in Hawaii when you just get off of work, it's 73 degrees and breezy, and you can go outside and slide down hills on pieces of cardboard with your kids, or take them for a 15-minute ride to the beach and go swim in some of the world's best beaches. When you can do that daily and you don't necessarily have to spend the kind of money that we used to spend in California to go on these road trips and whatnot, it actually ends up saving you money throughout the year. We try to get family to come here and visit us. My wife has family on the mainland, believe it or not, and half of my family's from the mainland. We've spent thousands of dollars over time traveling to see family, and now that we're living back home, people actually want to come see us. That could be good and bad. The commissary and exchange, when possible, if you're military or if you have that ID, and definitely a Costco or Sam's Club membership. I don't know anyone with a family on the island that does not have a Costco or Sam's Club membership, and you definitely want to get one if you're going to be moving here on the island. Think about electricity when you're picking where you're going to live. I live in Mililani. I grew up in Ewa Beach. Ewa Beach is a hotter place. I would definitely have the AC on. I would have it set to 70 degrees and no one would be allowed to touch it if I lived in Ewa Beach. But because I live in Mililani, sometimes in the winter we actually even close the windows. Now, I know that to a lot of you on the mainland, it may not seem like there are big differences in microclimates here on the island, but for example, sometimes I'm in Ewa Beach and it's 80 degrees. By the time I drive home 15-20 minutes away in Mililani, it might be 72 degrees and breezy. By living in a certain place, you might be able to keep your electricity bill down because you don't have to use air conditioning. A lot of homes on the island don't even have air conditioning, but if you're from the mainland and you're definitely used to having that luxury, then you are going to want a home with AC, but maybe you don't have to run it as much. So those are a few tips that my family and I use to keep our costs down in one of the most beautiful places in the world. Guys, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos and specific stuff on each neighborhood. We're going to go and do a vlog of Ewa Beach, Mililani, Kailua, Kaneohe town. So we're going to be doing a lot of neighborhood specific videos in the future, so make sure you hit subscribe, and also let me know, contact me if there's a specific neighborhood that you want a video tour of, because I'm going to be doing those for the channel anyway. I was born on the mainland, I moved to Hawaii in my childhood, and then I joined the Coast Guard and came back. I have a unique experience of experiencing Hawaii as a newcomer, but also having grown up here for most of my childhood, I also have that local knowledge. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any specific questions, please reach out to me. I love helping. I love chatting with people, and let's connect.